All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tuesday Tips and Tricks. I'm your host, Max from WeVideo, and we, as always, have another great episode lined up for you. Today, we're going to be talking about podcasting, how to repurpose your content and leverage it through video on other social media platforms, featuring a special guest. But first, and as always, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as well as hit the bell in the top right corner so you don't miss a beat. As for questions, please leave them in the comments section below. We will address them either during or after, depending on how relevant it is to the topic. And with that, let's bring on our co-host, Tyler Wall.
What is up, Max? Happy Tuesday once again. Excited to get into some podcasts today. I see you've got your mic set up there, me as well.
Yep, got a little kind of new additions here. Got the nice camera pointing at me as well.
Cool. Very appropriate for our episode today. We're going to be talking about podcasts and how easy it is to get started with just a laptop and WeVideo. You don't necessarily need a fancy setup, but we will get into some more in-depth stuff as well with our special guest today.
Yeah, so let's it's going to be a long one today, or at least it's just full of content. So let's just get right down to it. First off, let's kind of quickly go over for our users out there how you would go about recording a podcast in WeVideo. And then from there, we can get into kind of the tips with our special guest.
Cool. All right, let's hop into WeVideo. You can see I'm in the dashboard here. And if you guys have been watching, you should be familiar with this section already. We've got our quick start section. So you can see there's already a button here called podcast. That's where we're going to start off today, show you guys how to utilize this. So go ahead, click podcast. Immediately, you're going to get this notification. It's going to want you to access the microphone. So just allow WeVideo to access your microphone. Go ahead, click that. Select your project as always. We're going to go into the live video. Next. And then right away, we're just going to have this button here. It says record. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, guys. That's how easy it is to start your podcast in WeVideo. Go ahead, click this. We're going to get a countdown. And then you can start your recording. Welcome to the new podcast, Tuesday Tips and Tricks. So
Beautiful.
You could go ahead and record here for as long as you want. You could go on an hour-long podcast if you really wanted. As soon as you're done, you're going to click that stop button right there. And it's going to bring you to this section. You'll have a preview. You can play this back, listen to your podcast. If you didn't like it, you could go ahead and record that again. Or we can just go ahead and click save. So let's do that. And the first thing you're going to notice as soon as this loads is this voiceover section is already populated in our timeline. So I can go ahead and start editing my podcast immediately. I could add in some nice sound effects or music, create a nice intro bumper immediately. And then, since I only did the intro to our podcast, I could actually go in and continue to record, different sections that I like. So to do that, all you're going to do is get into the My Media section and then continue to narrate. Click this narrate button and you can see we have that record once again. So very, very useful. You can immediately start editing and creating, and it's a great way to just get going on a podcast. So I think it's worth mentioning a lot of the podcasts we see today actually have video incorporated in them. You see a lot of it on YouTube. I know I tune into quite a few podcasts that are on YouTube, and I'm not necessarily always watching, but definitely listening. So,
Yep. That's one of the things I was going to bring up, and we'll actually address in just a minute or so. You will likely have some viewers on YouTube and other viewers who are on your podcast and specifically don't merge the two. So there's benefits in kind of diversifying there. So let's quickly go over how to record content in video and then repurpose that as audio.
Definitely. All right, so let's say we wanted to do more of a vodcast, like a video podcast, right? To do that, instead of using our Quick Start podcast, we would use this recording feature. And you can access in a number of different ways, but basically all we're going to be doing is using our webcam to record. So click that once again, hit next. Same thing, we want to allow WeVideo to access our webcam. So go ahead, click allow. You can see it is accessing my. If you wanted to, I don't know, set up multiple cameras, there's definitely ways to do that. This is where you would see that option. You could do a podcast with a friend. Similar, we have our audio options here, you can see. So definitely lots of ways to set up multiple mics. For now, we'll just maintain this one and start recording. So same idea, right? Gonna get a countdown.
3, 2, 1.
Bada boom. Welcome back. It's the new Max and Tyler podcast about fantasy football. No, I don't know. All right, so just go ahead, click stop once you're ready. Football's back, people.
Get excited.
So same idea. We have a preview here. If you don't like it, you could record again, and that'll just take you back from step one. Delete what we've recorded here. If you click save, it's going to populate once again in our timeline this first video track, and you can see it's uploading that media directly to my media folder. So keep that in mind. It will go directly to the main My Media folder. If you wanted to just stay organized, we'll save and exit. You can go to your media tab and then throw this guy into, whatever project is applicable. So again, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. The point we really want to drive home here today is how easy it is to just get started, or at least try it out, get your feet wet.
Well, yeah. So Tyler, before we start over here, how would a user go about just exporting the audio portion of that?
Okay. Whoops, I deleted this. Okay, so the audio is actually going to be attached to this. If we click onto our audio tab here, you can see the waveform pops up. And let's say we wanted to export this to YouTube, and then we also wanted the audio file so we could upload that to, one of the many different podcast platforms like SoundCloud or Apple Podcasts. There's lots of them, right? So we're going to just go like we normally would up to the upper right corner, click finish, set a title. If you haven't already. And then you can see here we have this audio only option on our export. Just go ahead and click that. A couple different destinations you can connect to. We've gone over this in previous episodes. But if you just want to export the audio as is, hit that export button and you are done. That will let you know as soon as it's finished, and you'll have that audio file ready to go.
Awesome. So with that, I think it's time to bring on our special guest. Everybody, please welcome Jason Scholl.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Oh, we got him muted.
He's muted.
Jason's our
Hi,
colleague
everybody.
from Hey.
You think I've done this before?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Yeah, so Jason is a colleague here, coworker at WeVideo, senior marketing manager, also podcast expert. You manage our WeVideo's Deeper Learning podcast. We'll paste the link here in the chat, as well as two other podcasts, Fin Factor for the San Jose Sharks hockey team, as well as Black and Azul for the San Jose Earthquakes soccer team.
Yes. Two exciting podcasts. So I started at WeVideo a little over a year and a half ago, and I was already producing two sports shows that are in video form, but also distributed as audio form through all your favorite podcast platforms. So when I started at WeVideo, naturally I said, we need to also have a podcast. And we got our Chief Education Officer, Dr. Nathan Ling-Rad, and a couple members together to brainstorm something and came up with a weekly series that has great subject matter experts in the field of education, talking about everything that affects creation, student achievement, creativity, collaboration, and ways that sometimes WeVideo can solve some of those gaps that teachers are looking to inspire students, and ways that teachers can also use creation to inspire others and really communicate their message.
Awesome. So, Jason, we're kind of getting an idea of, you're very familiar with podcasts. We'd like to know more kind of about your process when it comes to multi-purpose in terms of promoting your podcasts on other channels and how you leverage video for that.
Sure. So our process, we're each of our podcasts takes a team. So these aren't podcasts that we're doing solo. These are collaborative in style, where we have on-air hosts and talent. We line up guests. We outline kind of a couple episodes out what we would like to discuss, or we have a framework in mind, like we're going to have a pre-show every single game, or a post-show, or both, availability for all of that. And then obviously the production process. We use a variety of different tools. So first and foremost with video, it's your camera, it's your audio, it's your editing capability to put that all together as a story. Because in the long run, that's what we're doing to captivate our audience. We're telling a story that they are really interested in going for a deeper dive with, whether it's something in education, like with our Deeper Learning podcast, or following your favorite sports team. How come they won? How come they lost? How come they traded a player? How come the coach did a certain thing? What do fans need to know in order to have a really in-depth enjoyment of the content that they're enjoying, that they're ingesting? So they're taking their time to find us as a piece of entertainment, and our process to distribute that out. Our first and foremost goal with the sports shows was to put it on YouTube, and then take the MP3 of that and recast that as an audio podcast. So there's different platforms that we've used for that. There's also social media to help amplify people discovering our message. You use hashtags, you have followers, you encourage people to subscribe to your content, to download the podcast and enjoy the content on the go. And you engage those members on social media as well. So it's not just a one-way communication. You're also getting feedback coming back. And now we're using a lot more tools in the YouTube video production process, where we're putting those comments on screen live as we're having our shows. We're taking questions live from the audience. So it sort of pivots the content into, it's not just something that you lean back and enjoy, but if you could do it live with the content creators, now you become a piece of the process, a piece of the production.
Right. Very cool. So you touched on social media. Quickly, kind of while we're there, would you go over which channels do you think? Actually, let's go over all of the channels in terms of when you publish your podcast. What channels do you usually promote to? What do you recommend for a new time user? Mm-hmm. And then in terms of promoting your video content, what channels do you use and find the most success with?
Sure. So publishing our audio podcast, the video, I already said, like, we go straight to YouTube, but as audio, we use two different types of destinations depending on the show. We've tried SoundCloud, and that seems to be great for the beginner to intermediate level. If you're comfortable in there, you get to put in your title, your description, some tags that are associated with the content. And you got to do a little bit of work to get that to distribute to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I think we do Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify. That pretty much rounds us out in the upper echelon of where people are going to discover the content. To make it a little bit easier, we've also tried Podbean for our soccer podcast. So Podbean, definitely for beginner level, it's very easy to get started. With both of those platforms, you get about 3 hours of free content that you can upload and try out that platform and get comfortable with it. After that, there's going to be a membership fee that kicks in with most of these platforms. If you're looking, if you have advanced skills, you can host podcast MP3s on your own on a WordPress site, for example, but you're talking about advanced level. And we didn't quite have that time or the capability to bake that all together. We knew the recipe and the ingredients, but it was going to be just too intensive for us. So with the membership fee, when you're on a podcast platform, you're paying for them to host you. You're paying to help them or help get discovered on their platform and have a very reliable quality of service with all of those platforms that people are going to be finding you from. Apple is the primary one, followed by Google, followed by Spotify, followed by Stitcher. That's going to change, as this, area and realm really advances. Because if you're looking for the very best that's out there to mimic, like, all right, if I want to know the very best, who do I look at? Everyone's going to tell you, look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's the #1 podcaster in the world. He just did a deal with Spotify. He's been appearing on Spotify now, just in the past week. $100 million content deal with Spotify to move off of YouTube and go straight to Spotify as video and as audio. So that afforded him a brand new studio and a lot more, professional level direction. But people that appear on his show, their careers change for the rest of their lives because of the amplification he has with his message.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jason, I know you started doing the live, but when you were first beginning podcasting, did you utilize pre-recorded shows? And is that something you recommend for someone just getting going?
Yeah, so good question. When we did start, sometimes it took a long time to come up with the idea. It germinated. It's like, we want to do something, but what do we do it on? And there's a lot of people out there. I know there's a lot of people out there doing that same overthinking process. Like, I want to make a podcast about this one subject matter I'm passionate about. So we sat down, we planned it out, and we committed to doing it recorded. I think our first episode of the Sharks show took us about 3 or 4 hours to make because we stuttered. We didn't know how to introduce the show. We like talked on and on and on about a certain subject. And we spent 20 minutes on that. We thought we'd only spend 2. So we did edit that all together, and it took time to piece that together. Then as you get into the groove, as you do this as kind of a serialized production, whether it's 10 episodes in or 20 episodes in, you get your groove. You start getting into really good form because you know how to introduce and talk about yourself. You've watched the other recordings, you've gotten feedback from your friends, you've seen people like and subscribe and follow your content. And you will have people that pick you up, just in the last episode. And it's going to surprise you. You're going to have people that have followed you from episode #1, and they're sticking with you because they really value your content, and you're going somewhere and taking them somewhere, and they want to be along that ride with you. So recorded, sometimes podcasts now have engines you could do live, but definitely sit down to put your thoughts in good, concise order and fashion, and really, put something together that you've polished, but don't overthink it. Don't spend way too much time trying to make everything perfect. You'll get there.
And you've had quite the amount of success now, Jason, with the with Fin Factor in particular. I believe you're already monetizing.
Yeah. So as a YouTube show, our point was, try to drive up those subscribers, try to drive up the hours watched of content. You monetize on YouTube now once you have 1,000 subscribers and have reached 4,000 hours of publicly viewed content. So we reached that in 4 months with the San Jose Sharks, and that just part of it was luck because they had a huge, massive trade. They traded one of the arguably best players in the league, and now he was coming to our hometown in San Jose. And then we kept building an audience from there. So we have people that continue to tell us they've been watching us since that moment when they found us, or they've been watching us even longer than that. So with that engine of monetization on YouTube, it's been changing in the time that we triggered that process, probably just about 2 years ago. And it's been really exciting because now YouTube promotes your content more. You see your metrics rise because you're putting out valuable stuff that's consistent. They have a lot of algorithms that work in your favor as long as you're genuine and authentic with your message.
Awesome. So our chat is blowing up here with a bunch of different questions, some related to looks like text. So let's kind of wrap up our discussion here on podcasts, migrate to a couple quick tutorials on how to do the different text animation options. And then see if we have any more chat related questions to podcasting. But Jason, kind of on the tail end of this, You've had some great success with podcasts. What would be any recommendations to someone who's just starting out, or to someone who's maybe actually been doing this for some time and has a little bit of experience?
Sure. So you definitely want to be watching your metrics. You want to know how many people are following, subscribing, and there's ways you can measure that. So if you never activated any kind of analytics with a process that you already started, research ways that you can do that. We've been using a site called PodTrack, and it's spelled PodTrac.com. That will track just about every single thing of where people are watching you from, and what platform, and like by episode, by day of the week, you could dial down how successful some of your shows are. Other platforms like Podbean will have built-in analytics. So if you're already kind of going through it, start measuring and then start activating your engagement with that audience. Run contests, run things where it's like, the winner will receive 30-minute virtual call with me. That's free on you as a creator. That time is valuable, but you're not creating merchandise and a huge inventory to have to ship out and stuff. We do merchandise with the Fin Factor, which is pretty successful for us. So t-shirts, hats, stickers. That's just some of the things that our audience was asking us for, because they wanted to proudly display us and run into us when they saw our hosts at Sharks games or out in public at different events. Our hosts kind of became local celebrities among the Sharks fans, and that's really, really exciting to see. So, if you're just starting, like, merchandise is one of those goals to probably attain to once you've built that audience. And they'll give you feedback like, now they want hoodies because the weather's going to start getting cool. So we're thinking about that. They also want face masks. So we're thinking, something with shark teeth. Yeah. Just trading messages with my brother really early this morning about possible designs for that. So it's an exciting thing. You extend your personal brand, and you're going to receive those rewards as people engage with you and find ways to engage with them.
Awesome. And you can check out all of that merch. We pasted the link in the comments. We can add that again at the finfactor.com website.
I know we want to get into some of these questions here, but I did have one more for Jason just about podcasting before we move on. How important, Jason, do you think it is for people to have a passion about whatever podcast realm they're entering into? I assume that you have some background with MLS and the Sharks previously. I could just be guessing that, or someone on your team does. Do you think it's important for someone to have that passion ahead of time, or can they just hop right in and try this immediately?
You're going to have to fill an episode. So if you're going to sit down and commit to your voice on the record, are you the subject matter expert on that, or are you talking to a subject matter expert on that particular subject? You can be passionate about how you engage with someone to extract that knowledge and extract those stories and those experiences, because you're ultimately the storyteller. You are opening that book and reading a story to somebody, whether they're listening as a podcast when they're working out or doing chores around the house or driving, or watching you in video form and engaging with the story that you're telling. Storytelling is really, really a fun process to perfect. And a lot of people have a natural ability for that. From, you've seen caveman drawings that are in our history books. Well, this is the modern cave drawing. Is everyone's sitting around, or individuals are sitting around, and they're really diving deep with what you have to communicate to them. So a really, like, if someone is at home and they're thinking, man, I really enjoy, hearing about this kind of stuff. Well, who do you know that's an expert in that? Can you talk to them? And it could be as easy as a phone call that you capture and record and ask their permission to do so. Or it could be, one-on-one in some format like how we're doing. This is all remote. We're used to doing a lot of stuff in person. Our, ex-players would come and talk about their experiences. We'd have access to general managers and sometimes coaching staff for these sporting teams. And in education, we were talking to really brilliant minds of people with postdoctorate work, with books, with appearances that they've talked about, of just how they're changing the world and seeing things happen around us, and communicating that to an audience just finds that ultimately rewarding. So passion for storytelling, that's your number one thing you want to start with. Do you have that fire inside, or can you get it? Those are things you can do more research on and do more training on. And it's like public speaking, but It's a lot more comfortable when you can edit that message, when you can do multiple takes, when you can really feel comfortable, and then you get into the rhythm like we are, where we're just one take. And we celebrate that at the end of the show. We're like, this is a recorded show, but we don't have any edits. We don't have anything to break. This show will be done really easily in editing. So you'll get to there, and it's really exciting once you get a rhythm and celebrate that.
It's great advice. Yeah, I know a lot of our audience is on the content creation side of things, so find an expert in some sort of field and go with that. We've got a comment here saying consistency is also a great aspect of being creating community. I think that's
absolutely,
yeah.
That's why you do Tuesday tricks. Everyone tips and tricks. Everyone knows it's on Tuesdays. Our show we typically do Wednesdays or we do Sundays, and the audience has built their own personal schedule around being able to tune in live, or at least knowing those episodes are dropping on those particular days.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Speaking of community, we do have our first question here, Tyler, which is related to. Actually, I guess I'll go in order. First one is from Elsa, and she's asking about text effects and how to add text.
Cool. All right, Elsa. So if you had watched, you can still watch our last week's episode. We actually did go over quite a few text tricks. We can quickly show you a couple more.
Yeah, let's just go over the basics, and then we could paste perhaps last week's episode in the comments section here, so you can check that out.
Yeah. All right, so I'm back in the editor. Depending on your plan, you can see here in the text tab, you'll see these motion title text, static text, in season, and some callouts. What do you think, Max? Should we go over the more advanced ones or just show off some of these motion titles?
So let's go over the motion titles. Also, for our free users out there, I don't think motion titles are an option. So maybe let's quickly just direct them to where they can go.
Yeah, so
static text options.
Definitely. All right, so if you're on the free plan, or any plan for that matter, you will have this static text options here. And this is where you're going to be able to create some titles. So it's really easy to do. You can see I place this on the layer above the video. That's important when you're creating titles. Just maintain the stacking. If you double click in or hit this pencil icon, you're going to get into your clip editor. From here, we are able to move our text around, as you can see, scale it, change the font, color, lots of different things. All these options here, you can obviously change what the text says. And we can even, let's save these changes first. Actually, let's change our color since that's blending in with the background a bit too much. Make that red.
Background, nice.
So yeah, you can see here we can actually add a nice backdrop if you wanted to make this a bit, stand out a bit more. There's tons of different options we can do here. Save the changes. You can also animate this. So let's say you wanted it to start really small and then show up. That's going to create an animation.
Awesome. Another thing that I think we haven't pointed out, which is very easy to do, is you can apply a transition to a text clip.
Definitely, yeah. Right click, hit the transition. That's going to put the default transition, which is the crossfade. And then from there, you can click that and change it to whichever one you'd like.
Yep. And you can check out that entire library of transitions by going to the transitions tab as well.
Correct. But if you do have that motion title plan, which I highly recommend getting just because some of these are so dynamic and just plug and play, really. You can grab some of these pre-made animations from our team here at WeVideo just to add an extra element of professionalism, right? That little bit of movement even draws your eyes to that text. So lots of things you can do with text within WeVideo. I do recommend you check out last week's episode to see some more kind of hacks, more in-depth ways to manipulate some of these motion titles.
It looks
and
like
make
that's
them
been
even
pasted
better.
in the chat as well.
Great.
Awesome. So next question, we've covered this one, I feel like, in the last few episodes as well. Is there a way to blur faces only in a video using WeVideo? So for this, I think we would just go about using kind of the blur feature we had done before, which is adding a rectangle or a shape and then blurring that and putting it over the face.
Yeah, again, something we've gone over. This is one that keeps coming up, so we will definitely pass that along to our product team and let them know that this is a feature that we've seen highlighted quite a few times.
Yeah, so there's no, just to be clear, there's no way to, hit a checkbox and then all the faces get blurred.
Right.
It's not a functionality yet, unfortunately, but there is kind of a workaround of sorts.
So what we've been suggesting to create sort of a blurred effect is use one of these shapes and then get it to your liking. And then just click that button right there to drop the opacity of that clip, and you get sort of a blurred effect to hide the identity of this mysterious man. Or you could even click this effects button and apply a blur.
There you go.
So we could bring our opacity all the way up. It's obviously not going to track directly to the face, so you could use the animation tab to try and move that shape along with the face. It's not perfect solution, but again, it's something that we can definitely pass along to our team.
Awesome. So next question here, directed towards Jason, I believe. What social media channels are best to promote your podcast?
Oh, good one. For our sports programs, Twitter has been the biggest engagement because you can follow hashtags for the teams. You can have threads that go back and forth and have other people chime in as well on the conversation. We also use Instagram. So Instagram stories, they have 15-second limits on video that's vertical. That was a new thing for us, especially being that we casted our show in a rectangular format. So going upright, we just had to use some cropping and some tools in WeVideo in order to create really good little hits on Instagram. With Twitter, you can go with the horizontal framing and put little clip highlights. We particularly like to highlight when players chirp at each other in hockey. That means like they like to just harass each other and do things in a very family friendly kind of way for our format of the show. So there's no cussing, there's no really super personal, embarrassing facts, but we use WeVideo to put together a clip of one player that came on our show in an early part of our season, and then we interviewed remotely a player who was being talked about and being joked about, and let him watch it and then respond. So we use WeVideo to assemble that all together and put that social hit out there on Twitter. We've used Facebook to create Facebook groups and really create a following. It may not have been groups. It actually may have been Facebook pages, to be specific. Okay. Pages have a lot more media control so that we can do things live to it for video, but also tracking our audience as followers, as likers. So Facebook's a little harder because to build an audience, you really have to dedicate almost full time to that. Twitter was easier because of that's where our audience was. With Facebook, we compete with what's in other people's timeline, and sports isn't always primary, especially as there's very little sport being played this year. It's picking up, but Twitter, followed by Instagram, followed by Facebook, that worked for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. This has actually been a lot of fun and great engagement this week. That's it for today. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Happy Tuesday. And as always, happy creating. See you all next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.